Good evening, everyone, to the Monday night, December 28th, 2020, probably our last trustees meeting for the year. We have an agenda this evening, and let's begin. I'm calling us to order. The second thing I'd like to do is if we'd all stand and remove our hats if necessary and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda review. Any comments or changes necessary?
I have none.
Okay. Public comment. We may or may not have public online here.
We do not.
We do
Everybody
not.
who is on Zoom is accepted.
Okay. Approve and accept the minutes. I didn't see the minutes.
I did.
You did?
And I make a motion that they be approved.
And I'll second.
Okay. So they've been approved, and seconded. All in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approve the village warrants. We do have those. 118 through 121.
I'll move that we approve warrants 118 through 121 as printed.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments? They look pretty standard to me.
I second the motion, of course.
Okay. The warrants having been approved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye. The warrants are approved. Thank you very much. Approve the Village of Swanton's tax collector use of Attorney Von Como if necessary for upcoming tax sales. I believe this is the attorney we've used in the past.
Yes, I know Vaughn. I grew up next door to me. At any rate, I'd like to make a motion that we use Attorney Von Como for delinquent tax collections if necessary.
And I'll second.
Okay, the motion's been approved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye. Very good. Moving right along. Economic and Development Coordinator, information update.
So this is where you're going to pause for a few minutes. So I have a couple of things. The first is that the VHB, who is the consultant for the downtown scoping study, we have seen kind of a preliminary set of alternatives. They wanted to make sure that they're on the right track, and if there's anything that's absolutely not going to happen, but they're still going to present them because we don't want to be the ones to say something is not likely to happen. So save the date, January 27th, I believe it is a Wednesday, will be the where they present the alternatives. There will be information out and about that before it next week after we get settled in with the new year. So they'll actually present the alternatives where we can pick pieces and parts of the different ones, and as long as it makes sense from an engineering standpoint, that those are the kinds of things that we'll look forward moving forward. So that again is January 27th. Reg, help me out. I think it was 6:30 to 8.
I think so too. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was 6:30 to 8.
Okay.
Now, the engineers are going to help us with publicizing this, correct?
Yes, we will get the word out. I'll actually be doing some personal outreach to folks because I really want people to have the opportunity to see what we're working on, and I'm trying to get the date, get the time real quick, and my phone doesn't want to. It is 6:30 to 7:30. So
okay.
we anticipate that an hour. But so again, you'll hear about that, much more about that before it happens.
And again, you
So-
anticipate this will be a visual, or a virtual meeting as
It will
well?
be virtual, yes.
Okay.
And they did a nice job presenting. I mean, there was only 4 or 5 of us in the room, and hopefully we have more than that, but I think they'll do a nice job going through it. It may take a little longer just because there may be some back and forth, but let's look at option A again versus option B versus option C. So maybe it's not the greatest way to do it, but given where we are, it is kind of what it is, and we're going to get it. I need to touch base with them on getting those to you beforehand, so people can look at them beforehand, so the first exposure isn't necessarily on the 27th.
Now, VHB still haven't sent us the drafts. I haven't.
No.
Okay,
No, not yet. I anticipate that'll be next week.
okay.
Has AOT been involved in this at all?
They are aware of what we're trying to do. They will be invited to the alternatives meeting.
Yep.
Because it is a class 1 town highway in there, we have a lot of leeway of what we want to do. But given some of the prospective alternatives, they definitely would like to have something good on that.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and I want them, I think it only makes sense to echo you that we find out now before we go, oh, we like these little bits, and let's go with this, and they say, not gonna happen. So
Right.
we definitely want them in.
Yep.
So with that in mind, are there any other questions about that part?
Not now.
Nope.
Okay, so yeah. With that in mind, there is a one-time grant opportunity, and this is going to get confusing before I'm done talking through the whole thing, so bear with me. This one is called Better Places. And I'm going to tell you up front, there is no match. 0, none, no match. This is through the Vermont Community Foundation, the Department of Housing and Community Development, and several other, including the National Group Life Foundation. They are a great private partner with the state of Vermont. The idea is for this is to take some funds from it was 5,000 to 20,000, I think we'll end up somewhere in between, because VHB is going to do quick bill kind of pop-up, demonstration ideas, so that as we are looking long-term about how to fix the downtown corridor, what can we do as quick builds to make some quicker fixes? So the idea is to take the money from this grant program, Better Places, and do some of those kind of quick demonstration projects. One thing that came out of the alternatives was to do some reverse angle parking in front of the theater. If that's something that people like, we could take some time in the summer, say June and July, or May, June and July, and test that out. Have people standing out there and actually take cones and make reverse angle parking, have people standing out there so they can explain what it is, take some time to actually find, the crosswalk in front of Cody's, going from the park to Cody's, is a really long crosswalk. And we did this a couple years ago with the AARP for a week, but what if we made that shorter on a temporary basis so people could try it out? Just different things from the alternatives that's going to come out in January, and look at what we can do to try some of those things out on a 2 to 3 month basis, see how people like it, and then tweak it. Well, we don't like this about it, but let's try that about it. So just to, again, to try things out. So does that make sense?
Yes.
Fine.
Okay. So what I would like to do, and again, there's no match, is to have permission, the letter of intent for that is, the application is due January 22nd. So I think it's really a great way to kind of move that project forward in a temporary, and some of those solutions can be longer lasting. They don't have to take, just the 2 to 3 months. They could end up being permanent solutions, but instead of spending whatever money it takes to restripe parking spaces, can we take cones and try it out, that kind of thing, just to see how people like it and what it does to the traffic. And that's just a couple of examples that I can think of off the top of my head. It will really be driven by what VHB, what comes out of that alternatives meeting the end of this month. And we won't know exactly from that alternatives meeting what's going to come out of it, but we will have enough. The projects don't have to be completed until project completed August 31st of 2021. So we can talk, and I talked to the state. They think it's a great project. It really goes in with what we're trying to do. So, and the demonstration projects, say we do May, June, July, and then we can do the report at the end of August. I just think it's a great way to show that, because I know, again, there's been some concerns. Well, yeah, we're going to get a scoping study, we're going to get a report, and then it's going to sit here on our desk and nothing's going to happen. So this, I think, is a quick way to show, yes, we're moving forward, and yes, here are some of the ideas and how they may or may not work functionally for us.
Do you anticipate trying to get as much as you can, the max, or just a partial?
It's 20,000, so we could go for the max. I'm going to need to sit down with VHB and, really think about how we're going to do the cost for that. But I'm probably anticipating maybe 15 to 20.
Okay.
Definitely not 5.
Right. Okay.
Now, I know one of the things we came up against with the AARP one was notifying V-Trans ahead of time to let them know, what we were doing, and they were offering some advice as far as, having to put signage up that traffic patterns have changed, so we don't get ourselves in trouble. So we need to keep that in mind for signage also.
Yeah. And I think it will be a reminder on the 27th to let Jim know that this is what, we won't know at that point whether we got the grant or not, but we can just say, hey, this is something that we're thinking about, so we can all put it in our calendars, that this is a potential that we're going to be doing in the summer. Because I do think some of the things we could do are low cost enough that we could do without the grant. I think the grant will help for advertising, it will help for some materials, but there are a few things that we could do without the grant. But this way we could do as much as we can without actually changing, like, the pattern, the flow of the traffic, literally, like making new lanes and stuff. That might be a bit beyond what we want to do.
And we should make sure we give Jim Coda a personal invite too.
Yeah. So I think the only reason we wouldn't, I can't think of a reason not to do it. It's just my time in doing the application. And obviously, I think as we're doing the demonstration project, projects themselves is having people engaged. So it's basically the time effort. But I think we're on the state's radar for many reasons, and I think that it will be a very competitive project.
Okay.
Competitive in what way? Other communities?
Other grant applications.
I see,
yeah.
yes, okay. I don't think that what you're saying is confusing at all, Liz. I think they complement each other.
I think so. I do. So we're good. So you're okay with me applying for that?
I am,
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
all three.
Okay. So here's where it gets confusing. That was Better Places.
I'm going to share my screen.
Oh, yes. Then we have the Better Connection grant program. I guess they're big on better this and better that, which is this is a biannual program, and we have not applied for this because if you apply for the Better Connection, you cannot apply for a municipal planning grant. But I'm okay with that, and I think I talked to a couple of other people, and we think this is the way to go. I will tell you up front, there is a match. It is 20%. The idea is We've been working on the downtown core quite a bit. We're gonna have a scoping study. We're going to do a demonstration project. This is to take, how do we get people, it's like a village master plan. What do we need to do with land use, with zoning, with a holistic approach, streetscaping? What do we need to do to pull people off the rail trail? Get them, we're working on the Lake Street, the farm store. How do we get them off of Lake Street into the village? What needs to happen just to make a cohesive village to town connections? We have traffic coming through. How do we get them to stop? How do we get bicyclists and walkers off of the Moyle Valley Rail Trail, which is going to be finished in the next year or so, into our downtown? So that's what this would look at, and I think it just takes it from the better places, focuses strictly on the downtown, that very narrow corridor. This goes out a little bit and says, okay, now how do we look more village-wide instead of village core-wide? How do we connect the village to the downtown better, other than just First Street, because our focus has been so much on First Street. But let's look at Grand Avenue, what needs to happen. One of the things, Reg and I and Gordon and a couple other people have met with St. Albans, and they really stressed the importance of having some streetscape, of having a master plan of sidewalks, of bike lanes, and how do you, it's almost like a marketing. Once you get into Swanton, it's the first thing you see is when you get off the interstate, is when you are on Route 7 coming either way into Swanton, or you're coming off of Lake Street in the Palm. We need to put our best foot forward, and I'm not sure we're doing all that we can. So this is what we'll look at, tying all of those pieces together, that the better connection. So I had kind of come up with a tentative name, connecting places and connecting people, because I think that's what this would do.
Can you see the screen?
I can.
Okay,
I can.
okay.
So, and you'll notice priority consideration, we are in a designated village center. We would get the town and the village to work together. And I am actually coming to the village because I think it mainly takes place in the village. And to Reg's point that I have learned very well, if we went to the town and village, particularly on the maps, then us village residents would have to pay twice. And I'm always cognizant of that. So I think we're in a good place. The one thing that I wanted to talk to Reg about, and we'll do that obviously offline, is there is clean water fund money that does not require a match that we could use. So if there was any way to have a clean water, to access the clean water funds as part of this project, that would be a boost as well.
I would think that would be, why wouldn't they be using that to clean up Lake Champlain?
This is, well, I think it's because like stormwater runoff and stuff like that, that would still affect Lake Champlain. But this is, I think it's looking at ways to keep it from getting there in the first place.
Okay,
Yeah, that's what I think too.
okay.
So I do realize that there's a match. I believe the cap is 60,000. I talked to Enosburg. They did the same sort of thing. And he said it was 60,000 for them. I think because we've already done some of the things, we've done the downtown scoping study, that it won't cost us as much. I'm thinking 40, 50. So we would need 4,000. No, that's 10%. We would need 8 to 10,000, if my math is right. And I'm a history major, not a math major. I was thinking 10%, but it's 20%. So that's the downside. This is a biannual grant, so the next time it comes around would be in 2022.
So it says project completion is December 22. So you get two,
Right.
basically you get 2 years to,
Correct. So
Complete.
that would be, yeah, we did 40,000, it'd be 8,000, so it's 4,000 per year.
okay.
So I'm sounding like a broken record, but I think we've done a lot of pieces. We've, and this is the town, but we've done the NVU sidewalk. We did the King Street to Brown Avenue. We're working on the Lake Street, the Palm Shore, the downtown scoping study. We have all of these pieces. How do we tie all of this stuff in a way that makes sense? And it includes land use and bylaws, zoning. So are there any updates that we need to make? Anything that we need to look at from a bylaws or a land use consideration? Because I can tell you, working with Amy, we're doing several updates to the bylaws this coming year. So just, where do we need detail? Where do we need certain things to help us with economic development and, have a thriving community? And I'll shut up now.
Okay.
Side question,
Okay.
where are we at with the MVU sidewalk?
They're still in design. We're actually having a meeting mid-January to get an update, but they're moving right along. They've done some site work. They've got their, as I think I mentioned in the meeting, there's no further archaeological work that needs to be done, so that's a good thing. But they've contacted all the residents along there about rights of way and all of that, so the engineers are moving along. They're on schedule.
And do they
There's
have
no
us,
objections by any of the homeowners?
I think it's the same objections that they had, with the recognition that that's, when we did the scoping study 3 years ago now, that's the way those people who showed up wanted it to go. And we're not, I don't want to sound harsh, but basically that the conversation of where to put it is over. This is the way the scoping study, the way it came out of the scoping study, so that's where it's going.
Okay. And I'll share this PDF with you folks too. I couldn't print it up to hand it to you tonight.
that's fine,
Just send it over.
yep.
Yeah, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I think it's a really great opportunity to actually have a master plan that will tell the village, not just the core, but the whole village area and seeping into the town, what we need to do going forward, so that we can have a phase 1, a phase 2, a phase 3, whatever, and enter many phases that makes sense, so that we know once the downtown scoping stuff, the downtown is done, what do we do next? And we don't have that right now. We could guess, but what really makes sense for Swanton Village going into the town?
Good. Thank you.
There was kind of a question in there. So
The 12th?
the letter of intent is through January 15th. And then the application is due February 19th. So if you're interested, I'm obviously happy to do the letter of intent. Then with the grant application due the 19th.
Why not?
When do we have to come up with a match, the money?
Yes.
When do we have to come up with the matching monies?
So there would, like she said, there's 8,000, so you could split it 4 1 year, 4 the next.
Yes.
Is there any in-kind service?
So
That-
the in-kind would not consider the match.
No?
Correct. So they cannot, in-kind services are not eligible to satisfy the minimum 10% cash match. But additional consideration is given to submissions that, there you go, you can read it for your own self.
I'm getting good at this Zoom stuff.
Yes, you are. I'm impressed. that we will have, and I'm sure we will, just because the village has always been very supportive, if there are certain things we can do in-house, then that would be considered in kind, and consideration for the application is given to that. But it's a 10% match. Well, shoot, I was thinking it was 20, so we only need 4,000.
I was going to ask you. Thank you for picking it up.
Sorry about that. I one too many grants on my head. It is 10%.
10.
Good.
That's good. I'm going to change my notes.
2,000 per year.
Okay.
That's a lot better.
Yeah.
That-
Glad you asked.
That much I can handle.
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
Good.
So, and the other thing is and this is my final pitch, I hate to let money go past that we could use. And I did, again, talk to the state. They think it's a very competitive application. They really, I know that there's been a sense, and it's probably a true sense, that St. Albans gets a lot of money. And I think that they do. A lot, 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, when they apply, they get some money. I can honestly say that we are we're becoming a lot like St. Albans in that way. If we ask for it, we have a really good chance of getting it because they like what we're doing and they want to support us.
What do you need from us tonight as far as the better connections?
Just a nod from the majority that I'm okay to do the letter of intent with the understanding that we'll go ahead and apply in February. But if you want me to retouch base in February, before then, I'm happy to do so.
I'm ready to have her do it.
I am too, but I have a question.
Okay.
We're also working, or somebody is working on revising either the town plan or the zoning regulations. Which one?
The bylaws,
The zoning bylaws?
Yes.
yes.
So who would coordinate this activity with that activity?
Well, I think that we'll go forward with what we're doing because it makes sense. And that's kind of the planning commission has asked for it. We're pretty far down that road. But I
Okay.
think once we have that final set, then we'll if we get this grant and starting with that, we'll take a look and see what other changes make sense. I don't anticipate undoing what we just did. I think it's more a matter of looking at what other changes might need to be made.
And you can always update.
Correct, and most of the changes we're making are in the town itself, not the village.
I see.
So that's why I'm comfortable that we can let those go ahead.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
see a lot of showstoppers within the DRB as far as rules and regs, so I think we
Okay.
should be good.
Okay, good.
Couple unrelated questions too.
Uh-huh.
Do you know anything that's going on with the Carroll property and what's the latest down at the Rib?
The latest on that has been a couple of weeks, and I need to reach out to Sean. I'll probably do that next week because everybody's just busy with the holidays. I know that he had somebody interested in that property, but I don't know who, and he didn't say, I didn't ask. But he had somebody who was supposed to give him kind of a final decision on that a week or so ago.
Okay, thank you. All set for the next item?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
I thought you had 2 questions.
Well, I mentioned what I mentioned also was a Riviera project.
Oh, we did put in the grant application for the building and services to fund 30,000. Haven't heard back on that yet. And actually, I think that was just the letter of intent. They are under review. I did get that email. I have a meeting with the Brownfield people. I'm trying to pull up the calendar. That is January. January, it's not in this calendar for some reason, but I do have a meeting with them in January, so we're moving forward to meet on that. Because I think if you remembered, I talked about the Umbrella program, which is the Brownfield Revitalization It's a
something.
liability program that gives you priority if you join the program.
Yes,
We have a pre-application meeting with them, and then I'll fill you in at the next trustees meeting where that's going. But it's a slow process, but it's still moving.
okay.
Is it possible to have that building down by September?
My goal is to have it down so that Neil doesn't have to put up another half Merry Christmas banner. He says we'll see. I have some confidence.
Okay.
Very good.
So my question was, do you think it'll be down by September?
I think so. Neil
Okay.
seems to have some, how about September 30th?
Okay,
Okay.
it's September.
That's until midnight, right?
There you go, 11:59.
Yeah. Well, heck, keeps getting strong winds like this, it'll come down on its own.
No comment.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth.
you're welcome.
Okay, item number 9 is discuss the 2021 draft budgets. Lynn, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yep, any big changes from
So
last?
the only big change is on page 19.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, what was changed? I was going through it
So-
line by line, I gave up.
So the big change in this is the police department budget. The line item towards the bottom that says cruiser lease. I'm
Yes,
gonna be renaming that to equipment lease. We do have a cruiser that will be paid off in September, and that was like 11,000 and change. And I added the fingerprint machine lease to that, so brought it up to 17,000. So other than that, the only thing that's really changed in this budget is Reggie and I went through and kind of fine tuned the salaries a little bit more. Went through each individual employee. And like I said in my email, the base raise that we put in this budget was 3%.
Yeah.
But we did have, some other situations where some people may have done a little bit more. With the benefits, we do have in the police department, one employee coming off our health insurance. So that was about a $25,000 savings in that department. So that helped there. The only other thing that right now that I've got to add is in the electric, water, and sewer, the PERMA insurance, which is water and sewer have cyber insurance through PERMA, as does electric. And then the electric also has an excess liability policy. And I just got the excess liability policy renewal. So I added that in now, but I had already printed the stuff for you guys tonight when I got that. So that'll be in the final draft that will be going out to you guys to approve at your next meeting.
That falls under
so
rates
the first-
anyway. That'll fall under
So the
rates.
first meeting the first meeting in January, you guys will be adopting your budget.
okay, I was gonna ask that. Good,
So, do you
Pretty
guys have
much.
any questions before I go through the tax rate?
How are we looking on water and wastewater? I know I was looking at some of the
So-
final numbers and they didn't look, I'm not an accountant, so I'm gonna play dumb and say they didn't look
Right.
nice.
So this 2020, the year-to-date numbers you've got right now are not the final numbers. Our big billing is cycle 4, which is going out, usually goes out around the first of the month. So that billing isn't in here yet, so that'll help those revenue numbers.
Yep,
Water and sewer is not, sewer's gonna come in less revenue than what we really should have had. But they have plenty of money in the bank. So I right now am hesitant to raise those rates, just with the economic climate that we're in.
agreed.
The water, let me pull up my water one here. So the water right now, we're gonna be, we usually bill about $75,000 a month in water and also in sewer. So water, we're gonna be closer as far as budget to actual for the revenue.
I think you're gonna be right
But those
on.
revenue numbers right now in the budget are not
No.
accurate yet. I'm gonna wait until we get our final year-end billing in there.
Yep.
Before I put those numbers in. And the same with the electricity.
But that's-
I'm gonna wait until we get cycle 4 in to do the budget for that revenue item also.
Okay. And one other question on the water. I noticed on the wastewater, testing was quite a bit, but the testing in the water fund's only 6,000? Is that because
Yeah,
of
well-
phosphorus?
The testing in the sewer, because we land app, has a lot of additional testing requirements. But each one of those departments has specific testing because of what they do. But the testing in, we brought the testing up because Todd does have to test for more stuff this year.
Yep.
So he had wanted it increased. As far as testing in the sewer, let me find that one.
Yeah, because there's about a 60% difference.
Right, and it will. I mean, they're completely different tests that we have to do, and the land app is quite expensive. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking land app testing is about $4,000 a year.
It's the state's requirement for us to test for PFAS.
Is that new?
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah, it is. But Reggie, didn't we test for that this year?
Yes, we did. And I think, I'll have to go back and look, I think that was up, wasn't it, in the budget? That's why we increased it?
Well, it's up a little bit.
Right now, we're still way under budget for this year. Maybe it wasn't this year and it was the year before. No, we didn't. We were right about the same.
Yeah, because I know he tested a lot for,
Yeah, we do have a lot of testing. I can actually, let me just pull up, see if I can pull up the financial system from home.
I do know that was causing him a lot of angst, the extra testing.
Yeah, and I know that, that was one of the reasons that, we've had some other conversations around it.
Yeah, we had a conversation about it, and it escapes me, the extra testing.
Yeah, I'm pulling up my budget right now. I just had to log into the system though, so it took me a minute. So testing for this year, he has 7,800 in there for the land app / PFOA testing. Toxicity testing was 2,500. Discharge permit testing is 2,900. And then he's figuring about another $3,000 in testing supplies and miscellaneous testing. And then some EPA, DMRA tests was about 1,000.
Okay.
And then, let's see if I've got Todd. For Todd, he's got 4,000 in testing, and then he needs a new pH meter, or he wants budget for a new pH meter because his is old and in case it decides to go. And those are about 2,000. That's what comes up with his fix.
Okay.
You all set?
Yes.
Does anybody have any other questions on the budget itself?
No, I have none.
I think we're all set. Go ahead with the tax rate.
Okay, so if you flip to page 21, which is the last page, On the general fund, this budget that this draft 4 is anticipating a new tax rate for 2021 of .0931, which is up from .0811, which is about a penny and a quarter increase. The fire department is going from .0497 to .0498. That's purely rounding on how Excel rounds it, because the amount to be raised in taxes is identical. So that I kind of consider just a rounding thing.
Okay,
The police department, pardon?
that's okay.
Okay.
I don't think there's a change.
The police department is gonna go up to .4249 from .4228, and that's just over, that's .002. And then the highway is level funded.
Sure.
And in that highway budget, it includes the purchase of a dump truck or a plow truck, which that'll be funds coming out of their equipment savings account. So in total, you're looking at an increase in the tax rate of just under a penny and a half.
It's a very, very low rate. That's a
It is.
very good.
And I feel that we've got what we need in there, and I feel that it's not asking too much of our taxpayers. You know, we're being conscientious to the fact that we're in a COVID environment, and, but yeah, you know, we're gonna make sure that their basic services stay intact.
How did the grand list fare this year versus last?
It actually went up.
Went up a little
And
bit.
that's what, right now, the grand list that I'm basing this on is what we billed in taxes. The big adder for this year was Ace Hardware.
Yep.
So that was primarily what added to our grand list.
You normally put on here the taxes for various,
Right. I
Valued
have that on my-
property.
I can pull it up on my spreadsheet.
Well,
I just, when I was.
you don't need to do
It was a
that
little
today,
crazy-
but on the
it was a
next
little
one.
crazy in the office today, so we were kind of wearing multiple hats.
Well, that's okay, I just, that's really, that's a helpful piece of information.
Yeah, okay.
Do you want to
For
share
a
it?
$150,000 home, these budgets right here would increase somebody's taxes by $21.25. For a $200,000 home, it raises taxes $28.33. $175,000 is $24.79.
That's very reasonable.
I feel it is.
I do too. I
Lynn,
think it's
just for the future, could you change those numbers to 152, 250, and 3?
Yep, I can do that.
Okay. I think that'd give people a better idea of, you know, where they're gonna be, because
A lot of houses
you know,
are
a
3
lot of
grand.
houses are in the 2 to 250 range now.
Right, you're right. I haven't updated that, you know, the values for a while.
Yeah.
I just do the 150 and multiply by 2. Yeah, but that's me.
That's you.
No, that's good. You anticipate
Touche.
any unforeseen changes here, or are we pretty close?
Think like I do sometimes.
I would say on these general fund and highway budgets, we're pretty close. I do need to sit down with Reggie, you know, one final time, and go through them and make sure that, you know, we're both on the same page with what we've got in here, and, you know, I'm not missing something that he thinks is, you know, should be added. And I've also sent these budgets out to the department heads, so that they can take a final look and make sure that, you know, what they want to do next year for projects is in here. The other sheet that I haven't printed for you tonight that I've got, and I'm still compiling a little bit, is the equipment list for next year. Like I've got, you know, police and fire and highway, But it's the electric department is where I still need to, get some more numbers. I mean, obviously, that doesn't come out of taxpayers, that's rate based. But I've still got to add some stuff, like I haven't gotten from Dwayne yet, the lines that he plans to do next year. And I need to get, from Reggie, cost for the, relicensing needs to go onto that equipment list. Other than that, I'd say it's, they're pretty good. I do have to plug, even though I'm planning to not, at least in February, have you guys raise water and sewer rates. I need to run the schedules that I usually show you guys, so you can see what the rates should be. I'm not discounting the fact that maybe in midway through the year, we might need to do a rate adjustment for water and sewer. But we'll take it as it comes at that point. I'm hoping we can get away without doing that, just so that we can kind of give, we've raised some of these rates almost every year for water and sewer. We've done a lot of projects, but kind of give the ratepayers a reprieve in raising, and because we know, we've got another water project and another sewer project, that we're looking at, that we're doing engineering on, and, we know we'll probably have to raise rates again at that point for those bond costs.
Understood. Just for the heck of it, do you have any idea, unemployment-wise, how Swanton is doing?
I haven't heard.
I mean, I look around town and I don't see any big change in activity. Other
I
than,
can tell you that when the pandemic first hit, we were having customers call, customers that, we never had to bother them for paying their bill, call and saying, we lost our job, what can we do? We got them set up on repayment plans, and, they stayed pretty caught up. I'm not hearing that we're getting those phone calls. So it's like those people are back to work that weren't back to work back in April.
You can
So
by the track.
I'm assuming that some, most of those people
and our
have,
collectibles are not out of normal?
That's a good question.
they're still up higher than where they usually are. As you guys probably heard on the news with the rest of us, the state has now put the moratorium for disconnects back in place for electric. So we're back to not being able to disconnect. And now we need to track like how many repayment plans we do between now and March. How many customers have we talked to about repayment plans? Very honestly, if the threat of disconnect isn't out there, our customers aren't going to be willing to go on a repayment plan. We have a lot of customers. We have some that will. Don't get me wrong, but we have customers that are just going to wait because they wait for that yellow slip to come in the mail every month. And then they call us and make a payment or, go on a repayment plan. But the state did put in, we've got to track, which I do track what our receivables are, but now I've got to track between residential and commercial. That's going to be a little more difficult. We don't have a lot of commercial customers that go past due. But our system, when I print our reports, doesn't print our past dues by rate class. It just prints them by account number order. So I'm going to have to go through and, try to figure out who is a commercial customer. But like I said, we probably have a handful of commercial customers that get disconnect notices. So for the most part, those people pay really well. And we still are not able to disconnect water. That was put in as part of the executive order originally by the governor. So we haven't been able to disconnect water since the pandemic hit.
I had a question for you. Will there be extra funds available for those that can't pay? Do you know if anything new has happened because of the bill that was signed yesterday?
So we did have what we call VCAP funding.
Yes.
That program ran out a couple of weeks ago. We did receive a fair amount of money through that program. As far as I know, that program has not been revitalized. What came through in that order from the PUC was that they encouraged all of us utilities to push on the legislators to put more funding into that program.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. And I wanted to get that out in the public.
I
so
think
that
that's why
people can hear it.
I think that's why Lynn said, you know, we're tracking now till March
Yeah.
on who we're putting in for repayment plans and that kind of stuff.
We haven't lost any
Yeah.
commercial accounts, have we?
No.
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
I think we're doing pretty well.
Yeah, it would be nice to get a little update on that, though. As we
Yeah, like,
said-
I
as-
can't think of a commercial customer we've lost. Our sales revenue is down a little bit from last year. I see that data from Vesta on a monthly basis. We did have, early in the pandemic, we were up, but now it's dropped down a little bit. I mean, it's kind of flattened, the curve is kind of flat. It's like 0.2% lower, so it's not a huge amount. And like right now, solar's not generating very well, so, you know, we aren't seeing those credits
That's too bad.
like we do in the July and August and September.
I don't think I've
kinda
seen the
wish they
sunshine
were.
for 2 months.
Very good. This is well done, as always, Lynn. Thank you.
Yeah, she does a good job at this, putting it together.
Yeah, it's understandable, even
one-
if an old engineer like me.
The auditor's coming in a couple of weeks?
The auditors will be here the week of January 19th.
3 weeks.
And
That's
we
good.
plan to, they've actually, they're going to come in and they're going to set up actually in the auditorium. If they can't come in because of COVID and any restrictions the governor may put in place between now and then, they are set up so that they can do the audit remotely. We're actually going to be uploading, as we get stuff prepared for them, Trish and I tend to email them a whole bunch of information because they're pretty much paperless. So we scan and email a lot of stuff to them. They now have a program that we'd be able to, it's almost like Dropbox, where we can upload data. So we're set up to try it that way this year. So as we get information, we're going to be uploading it to this, out in cyber for them to pull down. And it's not a matter of, I send it to one of the auditors, but really there's 3 that come. And I send it to one, but she's not the one that uses it, so she has to send it to somebody else. So this way, Trish and I have access to this, and the audit team has access to it, so it should be smoother. We also can see that way, I can see what Trish has submitted, because she sends all the payroll information and all the accounts payable information. I can see if she's got items outstanding. She can see if I've got items outstanding. The auditors can tell, we can see what they asked for. It's kind of like, goes down a checklist, It's gonna be a learning curve. We've never used this software before. So for Trish and I, it'll be a learning curve. But I think in the end, we're gonna be happy with, how much smoother it goes versus scanning and emailing to them.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yep. I think that's it, Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lynn.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Same to you. Okay, number 10, any other necessary business, as Neil would say. Who wants to go first? Adam?
Just a couple things. Wanted to let folks know the park lights will be coming down Saturday, January 9th. If anybody's interested in helping take lights down, please come out January 9th on Saturday at 9 o'clock, rain, snow, sleet, or shine. So we're going to be taking them down, packing them away for the year. And just wanted to see if you had any update on the relicensing.
Right now, everything's in a standstill,
Okay.
so no new progress since probably about mid-November.
Okay. That's all I had.
Is that because of the COVID turmoil, do you think, or is there people just dragging their feet?
I
or-
think it's just part of the weather, because some of the things that they had to get into the tail race and
Oh,
that
I
kind of
see.
stuff, so.
Okay.
But I do have a budget for you too. Hey, when do you need that, that questionnaire for, the auditor?
The auditors?
Yeah,
Well, they'll need it before they get here on the 18th or 19th.
okay,
And I've got one for one of the trustees. Adam usually fills it out, but whoever would like it, I will email it to them.
Adam looks like a good candidate to me. Rookies always come first.
Oh,
can't claim to be a rookie much longer, can he? 10 years?
10 years. I'm still low man on totem pole.
Yeah.
Yeah, send it to me and I'll fill it out.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I had one question. Is there any update on the broadband group that was trying to get to the hinterlands in the state and county? And we're still looking for some person to volunteer to help.
So at the last meeting, Elizabeth said that she would volunteer to go sit in, not to join
Correct.
the CUD,
Yeah.
but to go in and be,
Our representative or our source
ears.
our
Yeah.
source of information, if you wish.
yeah, so
But
cool.
that is
Public
still
attendance.
open for
Yes.
some individual that perhaps has an interest in that sort of thing. I'm kind of inclined to think that we should very actively support it. Because apparently there aren't others that are willing to do so. So if they aren't, then maybe we should at least sponsor somebody so that these people can, we don't know how much longer these kids are not, but I don't know how they're getting their classes and that sort of thing
Yeah,
out there. And I didn't realize that it was up to 15-20% of the population here in this county doesn't have broadband.
yeah.
Doesn't have anything. So at any rate, my position would be to ask somebody out there with knowledge of this sort of thing to step forward. Because the county needs them.
Yeah, I mean, Elizabeth could help me,
Have a good day, Mom. Reggie's waving to you.
Hi,
That's right.
hi,
everybody's waving.
good night.
She's headed to bed.
Yeah.
Oh, me too.
But I think Elizabeth could help me answer that, but I believe we'd have to join the CUD
Yeah.
and submit a representative.
I'm sort of thinking along those lines because nobody else it doesn't seem to be,
So I know Enosburg
not very,
joined.
I don't have much knowledge about it at the moment, but there seems to be a vacuum there and a need. And based on my own personal feelings, it should be done from the state level over the entire state. So use some of the monies we have there and, my goodness,
Yeah.
get these people covered.
Yeah, I mean, just because we didn't, at this time, we choose not to join the union, I think we still should get information about their progress
That's
and
right.
what's happening,
Agreed.
you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can put that bug in Sean Coleman's ear, so he
Yeah.
could pass that along to the chairman.
Two Sean's.
Yep. Yep.
At any rate,
I
that's,
would think the schools would have a pretty good handle on what students or what percentage of the
Yeah,
student
yeah.
body is
and are they involved?
responding.
And are they involved? And perhaps they should
Maybe
be.
that's part of the 9% increase I want.
The superintendent's office ought to be really active in that area.
I would think. I would
I
think.
would think.
But you're not hearing from them.
We don't get much from that.
No.
I mean,
They're a secret entity. It's like the CIA.
well, their meetings are covered by the public TV, aren't they?
I
Yes.
assume so.
Yes.
Yeah?
So, but we don't hear much from these people. I mean, do you guys hear anything from them?
No.
I'm not alone then.
Nope.
But I don't have an interest either. I mean, I don't have children or even grandchildren in school here, so I don't have any special interest.
Well, I
in-
know my two that live here in Swanton have access and have,
Yeah.
are lucky enough to have the money to have top-notch equipment. Go in my 16-year-old grandson's bedroom, and he's got 3 screens. You know, he can be watching the Celtics on one thing, and doing his homework, and doing a game on the other one all at the same time. And they're both kids are doing okay. Their report cards are outstanding, so. I don't
That's
know.
all I had.
Very good.
I have nothing.
Nothing this evening?
Nope.
Okay, well, I only had a couple of quick questions. I noticed we don't have an American flag in the park and haven't had for a couple of weeks.
So we have one on order. The other
Okay.
one was pretty ratty and we were
Pretty
getting
ratty, yeah.
complaints. So we got a large one ordered.
Ordered, very good. And I checked again on our mailbox thing, the drive-up mailbox, and apparently the post office countrywide, Vermont-wide, and Swanton-wide is in an unbelievable deficit. So there's no adding of any money plus items at all, which is pretty crazy. And his argument to me, the postmaster, was, well, we're one of the communities that has mail pickup at your mailbox, which maybe people don't realize. If you leave a stamped letter in your mailbox, the letter carrier will pick it up and mail it for you.
That
Yeah,
is
that's
true. That is
And
true.
people, I mean, and not all communities have that, by the way. But we
Right.
do,
I think rural delivery does have that, and we have it.
yeah.
I
But
don't-
that's one of the reasons he's saying he's getting not only the budget problem, but the fact that we have that privilege, and not everybody does, that he doesn't see a need for a drive-up mailbox.
Well, we'll keep it in the back of our mind.
But I'm gonna keep pushing, and he agrees with me, he said, boy, that would be nice and convenient.
Yeah,
And
actually.
I've, several times, I've stopped at the post office and parked there for 5 minutes and
I
watched
saw
what
I
happens.
saw you there last week.
Yeah. And I mean, the people because there's a handicap spot you're not supposed to park in, 2 other striped spots you're not supposed to park in, to get out of your car and get to the mailbox. And luckily, we don't have snow to people to walk around. You know, but having the lighted crosswalk, the signal crosswalk is an improvement, but it isn't a total answer.
By the way, I have seen more people using the mailbox that's over by the People's United Bank,
A lot of people.
because they can drive it,
They can drive over and just dump and go.
Or they can kind of
You
park
can
in
get
the
closer, but you gotta get out.
Yeah, you have to get
The
out.
one that you want is one that would the driver's seat,
Oh,
without,
absolutely.
without messing up traffic,
I used to
and
use
drive
them.
up and
Yeah.
put mail in.
I used to use them in Pearl River all
You
the
know,
time.
they have them in Burlington.
As a matter of fact, I saw one on TV about a couple of weeks ago, talking about the mail, and they saw a person putting the mail out of the window into one of these, has a little snout that comes
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
Works
it's
good.
a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned.
So I just remembered one thing. I got a call from Mr. Maskell, and he had a concern about the crosswalk on First Street right near York, with his wife parks on one side and she goes to work on the other side, and when she's leaving work, it's dark. There's a few times that she's had some near misses, and he's just concerned about that crosswalk, and would like us to consider putting up possibly another flashing crosswalk or something for an advisory for that crosswalk. You know, some of the cars that park in that area maybe block the pedestrian before they get into traffic. So that may be part of the issue, but he brought it up to me the other day, called me, and we're gonna take a look and see what we can do. I mean, the RRFBs are expensive, but there may be an alternative that we can do.
Cool.
Just put it in our maybes.
Yep.
Okay, and I believe we had the discussion earlier, there's no executive session
Correct.
needed this evening.
Sir.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. The meeting of December 28th is concluded. Thank you all.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
yeah.
See you next year.
Certainly, happy New Year.